We are here, and it is right now. It is the UFC 325 Fight IQ preview presented by RotoWire. My name is Chris. With me, as always, is Joe Sunzu and Drake Never a Burden. We're here to break down the now 13 fight card, culminating in the rematch between Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes for the featherweight title. Break down every fight, give you all of our best DFS plays, betting plays sprinkled in there, and of course, hot takes at the very end. And we will get to all that, but I just want to open it up to a little bit about the guys. First, talking about the card, generically, we were talking a little bit about it before we came on, and this card is interspersed with the Road to UFC tournament, which means we're going to have a lot of fighters from Korea and the surrounding area that won their fights. A little difficult to get some tape on those fighters, although they do exist on handy cams on YouTube if you do want to check it out. But that it does get us wondering because we have a good mix of that, and then we have sort of tried and true fighters. We have a lot of fighters in that 9,000 range. So how are you viewing? Is it like a tale of two cards where you sort of separate those fights out? Are you going to get a good mix in? How do you guys look at this card when you're thinking about building? And I guess we'll go to Joe first. Joe, how you see it, at least with your earlier builds and progressing through the week?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I'll just kind of reiterate what we discussed prior. This is probably the card with the highest variance I can recall in recent memory. Like, if there's anyone that could legitimately put a cash lineup together with a high level of confidence, like, more power to you. I see this as a pure GPP card. Like, a number of these fights, like, could go either way, up to and including the main event. I was talking about what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to look at ownership percentages, maybe take a few stabs, but I'm going to literally like play 150 lineups in the $3 contest max 150 lineups in the 50-cent contest, and just hope that I hit something. And I'm really not going to invest a ton in this card. I won a couple of tickets. I'll play those out, but like, it is really a tough card. I mean, you got so much variance on this card.
Yeah, a tough card in that we do have those debuting fighters, but then we also have fighters that the world is sort of expecting the favorites to run through, and then we have a lot of closely lined matchup as well. So definitely a tough card to field. On that note, Drake, how about you? What are you looking at when you try to build lineups? Is there anything you're favoring? Any fighters you're favoring sort of in the mid range, or are you going with your tentpole builds, or how are you looking to build lineups generally?
This is one of those cards where I like a number of dogs, and when that happens, it makes it much easier to build lineups, which is also where the high variance comes in. That said, I do have a cash lineup that I'm actually pretty confident in, so I do have that going for me. It just kind of depends on, who you have as dogs, how confident you are in them, and then getting the the top rollers right. That's why I like cash more for this one, because there's so many like any of those high dollar fighters could just, they could all score about the same, or they could have a massive amount of variance. So it makes it a little easier, I think, for cash, because you're not chasing that super high score. But overall, this card should be actually a really good one.
Yeah, there's also there's so much narrative on this card too. Like, the time difference, the fact that they're starting to fight at 11 a.m., the fact that there's guys traveling several time zones. There's also a lot of like there's some injury narrative. There's some whispers about people being hurt. Like, there's way more narrative on this card than I've heard in a while.
Way more narrative, and we will get to all of it. But first, I do want to say that if you are interested in signing up to RotoWire, you see it at the bottom of your screen there. YouTube 15 at checkout for 15% off any subscription. We got sports in full swing now. You got the Super Bowl coming up, certainly. Baseball is getting ready to go. Soccer stuff is heating up. So, again, 15% off any subscription, YouTube 15 at checkout. But now we will get on to the fights now, and to the first fight of the night, a pair of debutantes here. In fact, it is, and forgive me on these pronunciations, it is Salangrangbo at 9,000. I'm sorry. How did I do?
That was horrible.
Go ahead. Say it for me.
Long Grombo.
So I wasn't that far off. Come on. Salang Rampo at 9,000, taking on Sebastian Salze at 8,100. Line on this fight, it is Salze at minus 130. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I missed the name there. So it's not it's not Salze. I actually went up to the next fight. It is he's taking on Lawrence Liu at 7,200. And so the correct line is, of course, Rangbo at minus 260 and Lawrence Liu at plus 220. This is an interesting fight. Lawrence Liu is coming in at a heavy reach advantage. I believe it's 7 inches, and so that prompted me to look at Rangbo's. In fact, it is there. That prompted me to look at Rangbo's regional scene fights, and it turns out he is generally at a reach disadvantage, and he has been at a 7-inch reach disadvantage before. And I looked at that fight specifically. Basically, what he did is that he's so quick. He just moved in and out and in and out, and the fight was kind of boring because his opponent was having to chase him around the ring. I'm going to bet that a similar thing happens here, especially since I don't view Lawrence Liu as the most put-together fighter. I don't view him as the fighter with the best footwork. So I think what's going to happen here is Liu's going to have to chase him around the cage. I think Rangbo is going to do his in and out thing, and for that reason, I'm not really that interested in this fight for DFS. I think I'm going to pass it. I actually wrote it up as a fight goes to decision, which is plus money. Somewhat to my surprise at plus money. I mean, Rangbo has got, I believe, 6 knockouts on his record. Lawrence Liu has a little bit of power as well, but I just don't see a lot materializing, and I do think Rangbo's speed's going to have a lot to do with that and the fact that he is now a fighter. So not my favorite fight to look at as we start the night, but let's see if the boys have a different view, and we will start with Drake. Drake, how you see the curtain jerker?
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I do think Rangbo has a really good chance to to knock him out. Similar to the fight that we had last week to start off. It's all about fast hands, man. And these guys that are coming in that are so young with these hands, it's nasty. I will make a note that Joey, although his planted flag comes later in the card, Lawrence Liu is his second biggest dog favorite on this card. And to me, it kind of blows my mind, but I completely disagree with him, and he knows that. I like Rangbo a lot in this fight. I think it creates a great contrarian spot because I do think he can knock him out.
Yeah, it would be a contrarian spot. He is fast. He does have power in his hands. I just think the distance to close might be a little too much here, especially coming in, coming in on hostile territory and then your UFC debut. I think it might be a little much, but we will see what Joe thinks about it. Joe, how do you see the first fight?
Okay, first bit of narrative. So, Rambo, his camp is called Enbo in China. Sumar Darji, Ron Zhao, among others, are at this camp. This camp is essentially like a cult-like camp. If you've ever seen the old Kung Fu with David Carradine, where you go into the monastery as a kid and you essentially stay there and learn all the different styles of fighting, that's what this camp is. It's a camp in China. You essentially go in there at a very young age. And I don't even know if you go to school. You just go in there, you train all the time, and all you do is fight. He had his first fight at 16 years old. He's 20 years old, this guy. I think he can be really good. And I also think this is a camp to watch because, you've got fighters coming out of this camp. But I'm going to go with Bo here. I don't know that I love him at 9,000, for the variance reasons. But this guy, when all you do is fight and you don't do anything else, I kind of like I think he lost his first couple fights at 16, 17 years old. And he's been on a decent run since. But I'm gonna try to back all these Enbo guys that are coming out of this camp, especially in their debuts. Now, unfortunately, the line is a bit high, and I think 9,000 is kind of risky. So I'd say this is a pure GPP play, but I'm definitely going with the favorite here.
Yeah, I mean, I do think he has to be the play. I don't think I actually gave my pick, which would be Rangbo. Um, I just see kind of stalling out, and that is interesting that they've been fighting for so long. You have to wonder what to make of these guys in a couple of years because we know that those young veterans like those Jordan Means, they have a tendency to fizzle out. Just fighting so long when they get to the young age. But in this spot, we'll definitely see how he looks. Definitely somebody to keep an eye on. And I do think he deserves to be the pick. But right now, we're going to move on to the next fight, and it is Kichiro Nakamura at 8,100, taking on Sebastian Salazar, also at 8,100. Line on this fight, it is Salazar at minus 130, Nakamura plus 110. I really liked what I saw from Nakamura on tape. Sort of a march you down kind of power striker. Sort of stands straight up, but also kind of has like a classic Diaz stance where he just plants his lead leg and tries to box. The one drawback there is he has no takedown defense whatsoever. He just try to throw intercepting knees, which isn't always a good plan, although he does have a knockout from that. And he's a good scrambler. He's good at getting back to his feet. Salazar will wrestle. I don't consider him a wrestler per se, as in that's not going to be like the whole of his strategy. Generally, he likes to sort of back up and blitz in as a karate striker. And for a guy who's going to be on the wrong end of the height and reach, which we'll see in a minute here, kind of slow on the uptake with the change, but forgive me. But given that he is going to be, as you see, the 4 inches in height and reach there, and a guy who's going to back himself up and try to blitz in with strikes, I don't really see it. I don't really see it working out for him. If he can stick to a wrestling game for 3 rounds, it might work out for him. I don't see him being that kind of control grappler. So I'm on Nakamura here pretty heavily for that price tag. I think Nakamura has a good shot for the knockout. Don't think much of Salazar, so Nakamura is the play for me there. But we'll see what the boys have to say. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I'm on Nakamura. I don't have too much to add from what you stated. I think he's a worthy dog, although he's a betting underdog, but on DraftKings, he's plus 110, I believe, which might have a small effect on ownership. Maybe not, but I roll with Nakamura here. I think this fight will be pretty widely used in DFS just because each fighter is 8.1K. So I expect there'll be a fair amount of ownership here, but I'm going to lean Nakamura.
All right, Drake, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I love this kid, and I don't know how many people know or remember Rinya Nakamura. These guys are not related, but they do train together, and that Nakamura is exceptional, when he's in the ring, and I strongly believe that Kichiro can follow in those, in that same kind of step. But he does, like you mentioned, he does need to work on that ground game. However, he does get back up really quick. I don't think he's got an issue with it in this fight, but in future fights, he probably will. That said, I do really like Nakamura in this spot.
Yeah, it does seem like a good spot for him, especially I don't like Salazar's striking approach. I just don't think it serves him, especially in this fight. As I say, on the wrong end of the height and reach equation. But let's move on now to the next fight, which is Don Marfan at 8,700, taking on Sang-Woo Kim at 7,500. Line on this fight, Marfan minus 140, Sang-Woo Kim plus 120. And I actually like Don Marfan quite a bit. He is one of the most put together prospects that I've seen in this card. The ability to do everything. His boxing actually looks pretty slick, and he seems pretty hard to hit, pretty hard to hurt on the feet. Although that's not exactly what he wants to do. What he wants to do is sort of take you down, control you, and potentially submit you. He can be taken down as well, but he's a pretty good scrambler. We have seen him out scramble opponents, especially in the road to UFC fights. Interestingly, he has 2 submission losses to another fighter on this card, Quentin Sal killed. But I don't think Sang-Woo Kim is that kind of grappler, although he will try to grapple as well. I'm a little bit nervous that Marfan might try to scramble and get caught in a scramble trying to get top position, because he does like to sort of sell out to get out of those bad positions. But otherwise, I do like Don Marfam. I think Sang-Woo Kim is a little bit wooden as a striker. He does throw with power, but he's a little bit wooden. And so I think Don Marfam, I actually think it would behoove him to keep it on the feet, because I think his hands are a little bit better. But I do think he will excel everywhere, with the slight concern that the scrambles are live for Kim. But we'll see what the boys think. We'll start with Drake on this one. Drake, how you seen this fight?
I love Marfan in this fight. I think he is, like you had already mentioned, a far more complete fighter than Kim is. I don't dislike Kim's game. I just don't think that he's quite to the level of Don Marfan. I also think that this could be a really sneaky spot. Don Marfan is definitely going to shoot. He shoots in every fight. If he racks up the strikes with takedowns and control time, it really starts to add up for DFS. I think this is a really, really good spot for him, and he also could, he's at that 8,700, so it kind of helps piece together some of the other pieces in your line.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely a well put together fighter, and good for the price tag, I think. Joe, what about you? What do you think about?
Yeah, so it's not a really strong take, and I would lean more towards, what you guys presented here, but I'm going to go the other way, and this is partially narrative based. I mean, I do think that he has a bit of a grappling advantage, but he's also 32 years old, which, like, this is a road to the UFC fight. This is it for him. Like, if he does not move forward here, his chances of getting into the UFC at 32 are pretty over and done with. Where Don Marfan is only 25, he would likely have another shot. I'm not saying that he's not going to fight hard, Don Marfan, but I think this is it for Kim. Again, this is really narrative based, and I do think that he has a slight grab. He probably shouldn't keep this on the feet. So I'm going to lean Kim, but it's not a very strong take.
Interesting. If we're looking at the metrics here, Don Marfan, the shorter fighter with a 4-inch reach advantage, which is kind of bizarre.
I saw that.
But we'll see how that plays out. We'll see. We'll see what wins out, the height or the reach when they're on the feet. But I mean, I don't hate Kim either, and he is strong, and I'm slightly worried in the grappling exchanges. But the pick for me is Marfam. I can see Kim as a dog as well, however. But right now we are going to move on to the next fight, and it is Yija at 8,800. Taking on Khan Offley at 7,400. Line on this fight, Yija minus 225. Khan Offley back at plus 190. And when I first looked at this fight before I saw prices, I thought they were kind of similar fighters. And I was sort of leaning towards Ja, but then I saw the prices, and they're so similar that I don't really understand the discrepancy here. Excuse me, as I change the fighters over, but I really don't understand the discrepancy here. They're both sort of power-fisted wrestle boxers, and I think Khan Offley is going to be the more aggressive fighter, and I'm going to go with the aggression here. We've also seen Yija kind of get flustered in exchanges in a way that I don't think Offley will, and I think Offley is going to be the more confident fighter in those exchanges, and I think he's going to come forward. Also think he might be the physically stronger man, which I think is going to pay dividends in any grappling exchanges. So for a more substantial dog pick than I would have thought, we're going to take Khan Offley for the savings there, and we will see what the boys think. And I believe we're starting with Joe this time. Joe, what do you got? You are muted, though, my friend. You are still muted.
Yep. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah. So, what was I saying? Oh, Yija is an Enbo fighter. He's actually, oh my God, these records. He's 29 years old, but he's 26-5. He's had 31 fights, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. So again, I don't look. I like that he actually beat. He KO'd Weston Wilson in the first round, 37 seconds.
I mean,
I
so
like that fight.
so did a Stiff Breeze, but okay.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And he lost the decision to Santos. I get it. He was a plus 210 underdog in that fight. He was a huge favorite against Western Wilson. I get it. I'm gonna lean with the Enbo fighter. Yiza. Again, these fights are so tricky. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, a guy who's has had 31 professional fights against a guy who's had 16. He's like, and he's older than him, by the way. Ofi is 32 years old, and he's had 16, 17 fights. I'm gonna go with the guy that's got some more experience. I don't love it. Again, I think this is a kind of high variance type of fight. I mean, his last fight, he had a standing rear naked choke against Ricardo Ramos, which was a good win. He was a plus 170 underdog. All I could say is and he was coming off of two losses prior to that. Against Naimov and Marion Santos. So I kind of and he was underdogs, I think, in both those fights as well. I'm checking real quick. He was every fight he's been an underdog in 3 fights. He's lost 2 and he's won 1. So I would say have some of each side, but I'm going to lean towards the more experienced guy, the Enbo guy.
All right, Drake, what do you think?
To break the tie, I am going to take the guy who is at home and trains with Jack Jenkins. I think that this is an excellent spot for Khan. Not that I don't think that Yiza is anything special, but Khan he's a tricky fighter. If you actually watch, how he fights, he lost those 2 fights, but those are against 2 guys that have risen quite far in the division already, specifically Santos. Khan is probably going to cause a lot of problems for Yiza. I think he's going to be very slippery. I don't think Yiza is going to have very much fun trying to hit him. And I think eventually that Khan gets this down to the ground and he submits him. I really, really like him in this spot. He's going to be one of my most popular plays. And I'm really looking forward to that fight.
I agree. I don't see anything that Yiza does that stands out where it's like, wow, this is a major advantage that he has. And if not, then I'm going to go with the work rate, and I'm going to go with the guy who can do a little bit of everything, and that's Khan, especially at the underdog salary, as mentioned. But we're going to move on up the card now, and the next fight is Jonathan Mikhailov at 8,400 taking on Oban Elliott at 7,800. Line on this fight is Mikhailov minus 130, Oban Elliott plus 110. Mikhailov was a guy, grapple heavy fighter who came on and surprised us by outstriking Kevin Jusay handily in the debut there. He's a guy who is going to have another reach advantage here. He's good at keeping range, blasting kicks, and of course is good on the ground, as I just mentioned. And Oban Elliott is a guy with almost no juice. I mean, he came in as sort of a grappler and then just sort of, lost the fight as a big favorite to Ko there, and just always keeps his back plastered against the fence, never seems to want to come forward, never really initiates. And I think a guy like Mikhailov, who is aggressive, who can do a little bit of everything, who's going to have that big reach advantage and those powerful kicks, I actually like him a fair amount in this spot, especially at that middling price there. So I'm moderately big on Mikhailov against a guy in Oban Elliott who I think is on his way out of the UFC after moderate hype coming in. But we will see what Drake thinks. Drake, how do you see this fight?
This is another fight that I feel pretty good about, just not necessarily for DFS. I really like Mikhailov in this fight. That fight with Elliott and Ko, I had taken Ko in that fight. He was my bet of the week. He was like +3 whatever. It was really great money. I just have no faith in Elliott. I don't think that he's that great of a fighter. I think he would be much better off in, PFL or a place like that. But like I said, I like this fight. I like Mikhailov. I'm just not sure it'll be worth it for DFS.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying. I think Mikhailov's aggression could sort of carry this and maybe have him put up kind of a little sneaky score there. But we shall see how that goes. Joe, am I going to you? I forget.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
Joe.
I like
Joe,
the nickname, the Welsh Gangster. That's pretty cool. But like, if you look at his last fight against Ko, that was horrible. Minus 485 favorite, and he landed 10 significant strikes in a 3-round decision loss. Like, I don't even know how that's possible to land only 10 significant strikes in a 3. And only if you're like maybe on your ground and on your back the entire time. So
yeah,
I don't get it. Like, I know he's catching some love here, but I don't understand why. Like, and this fight was actually supposed to happen back in September, and it got canceled. Let's see who pulled out real quick. Elliott pulled out. He apparently was ill. So he pulled out, which could mean anything from a bad weight cut to the flu. But yeah, so this is kind of a rematch of a fight that was supposed to happen in September on the September 27th card. And I like our guy here, who's 8-1. Yeah, I'll take him.
Mikhailov?
Yeah, Mikhailov.
All right, Mikhailov. For 3 in a row there, or 3 straight.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move on to the next fight, which is, let me get up here, is Jacob Malkoun at 8,600, taking on Torres Finney at 7,600. Line on this fight is Malkoun minus 145, Finney at plus 125. And I have to be honest, the first time I saw this fight, I had flashbacks to Malkoun's fight against Phil Hawes that ended in a very quick first-round knockout. Torres Finney is a bit like Phil Hawes. I would say much less polished, but more like freakishly athletic and fast, and a really strong power wrestler. But he really didn't show us much in his debut win there against Robert Valentin. Put up a lot of points for sure with his wrestling, but really got tired in the third round too, just because he couldn't hold Valentin down, and just really ended up being an underwhelming performance overall. And I think Malkoun at this point in his career is a much better put together fighter. I love that takedown that he does, that little single leg where he sort of just dumps to the ground. I think that's going to pay a lot of dividends here, especially against a fighter who's very muscled up. I think you can get him tired, maybe get a late finish. I like Malkoun here. He is kind of priced up, especially relative to where you would usually find a Jacob Malkoun. I would say he's priced up. You sort of expect him as an underdog, or sort of in the 8-1, 8-2s category. So I think a lot of people are looking to Finney as an underdog, rightly so. We lost a fight, and he does have some tools, but I think Malkoun is the more polished fighter, as I said, and I think that's going to pay some dividends. But we will see what the boys think. We'll start with Joe. Joe, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I'm on Finney here. Like, Finney seems to be the very popular underdog. A lot of people are on him, and when I first looked at this fight, and just off the top of my head, I'm like, oh wow, I love Malkoun. Like, Malkoun is one of those guys that, he wrestles, he scores points. But then you dig a little deeper and you realize Malkoun has not fought in 2 years. And the reason for that is a very, very, very bad back surgery that he had. He's not fought for 2 years. March 20th, 2024, missed all of 2025, right? So shade under 2 years, right? I think Finney's wrestling is actually better than Malkoun's wrestling, and I think Finney will be the one getting takedowns here. like I need to see that he's back. I need to see that Malkoun is back, right? And Finney is priced right. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be very popular at his price point. And there, I have been seeing a lot of love across various forums for Finney. And unfortunately, I'm going to jump on that train as well. So I got Finney here.
So I think if there's a lot of love, and the point's taken on the back surgery, and maybe Drake will have a little more to say about that. But I think if a lot of people are on, then I really like the contrarian play. I mean, these are the strike totals from Torres Finney's last fight.
Oh, forget it. He's going to win with takedowns. You're right.
I mean, but he didn't show that he was a control grappler at all. I don't know why.
Right, but you don't want a control grappler. You want the guy to get 10 takedowns. You want Moran.
Yeah, but not with those numbers, because that means, do you not remember how tired he was in round 3? I mean,
10 takedowns. I'll take 10 takedowns.
But it's very bare. It's hard to win like that. It reminds me of somebody whose name I'm not actually going to remember, but the guy who was beating Chaz Kelly, and then Chaz Kelly ultimately knocked him out. But anyway, the just getting that many empty takedowns and get up, especially a guy that muscly, I don't know. I just don't like it. But Drake is going to tell me why I'm wrong here too. So go ahead, Drake.
Well, I mean, I already told you before the show, so I'll just continue telling you.
Reiterate, yeah.
I am also on Finney. Malkoun, like Joe mentioned, was away for his back surgery. Malkoun had a bulging disc in the base of his back that was causing problems with his sciatica that was running down his right leg, and after practice, he could not walk. And so he got the surgery during the year-long, recovery that he was taking. Retirement was on his mind for a lot of it. He publicly stated that, and that's never a good thing. You have no idea where his head's at. I said it in my article. The 2-year layoff is just not it. I need to see what he's going to come back as. He could come back as a shell of himself. He could come back and get immediately rocked. There's just so much that could go wrong for Malkoun in this fight that makes Finney the only pick to play.
Okay, yeah, no, I understand that take for sure. I understand not needing to see it from him. I just don't think Finney is a finished product at all, and it could be a bunch of smoke and mirrors. But if it is that consequential, then it could definitely be a factor, and definitely understand that love for Mr. Torres Finney. But we will move on now, and I feel like we're all going to love the same guy in this fight, and it is Cam Rouston rather.
Pass.
Which one did I pass?
No, I said, can we just pass?
Oh, can we just pass? Yeah, sorry, it broke up a little bit. Well, we can get through it as quickly as possible here, and it is Cam Rouston at 9,300 taking on Cody Brundage at 6,900. Line on this fight is Rouston minus 360, Brundage at plus 295, and Cody Brundage has sort of the most remarkable UFC career that you're going to find. I mean, this guy has he has a DQ win over the aforementioned Malkoun, where Malkoun was really putting it to him before that happened. He has another fight that was called off due to an illegal strike that he was probably going to lose, and then he wins that knockdown drag out brawl with Julian Marquez, where he was rocked a bunch, and then he's lost the last 2. I mean, this is the most smoke and mirrors UFC run that we've ever seen. And Cam Rouston is a big, long fighter who's got power in his hands, who can grapple, and I just don't see it going any further than that. I love that this price at 9,300. I think that the fact that we have people in here lined above him is really kind of a gift. I really think he's going to finish Brundage and do it early. So my pick is Cam Rouston, and I am pretty much all in on it. But we'll see what the boys think, and I think their lines of thought will probably be similar. But Drake, what do you think of this fight?
I say this every time this dude fights. How is Cody Brundage still in the UFC?
Yeah, it's really.
I do not understand it. Is he? There is a number of things I could say. There's something wrong. He should not be here. He is horrible. He is not a UFC fighter. And if Roaston does not knock him out, I am going to be very sad.
Yeah, and not since Sam Alvey have we seen this kind of magic trick where you can sort of lose and look terrible and still maintain.
Well, I mean, Sam Alvey had naked
rest.
pictures of Dana's wife, so that's how.
Well, maybe that's what Drake was alluding to. I don't know, but
Yep.
but that was it. There's the mystery. But Joe, I assume you feel the same way.
Yeah. So obviously Cam Rouston, city kickboxing guy. If I knew nothing else about this guy, I would bet him purely based on his nickname. He's got the best nickname on the entire slate. The Battle Giraffe. What is a Battle Giraffe? I have never heard of a Battle Giraffe, but I hope that he wins. And when they go in the ring to interview him, when he smokes his opponent, they ask him how he got the nickname Battle Giraffe. I'm sure it has something to do with his height, but like, wow, the Battle Giraffe. Yeah, I'm on Cam Rouston here. 9.3K. Got to figure out a way to get him into your lineup. There's enough like value or potential dogs. This is one of the two fights that I feel pretty strongly about on the card. And this is pretty wild where there's only two fights on the card that I have a really high level of confidence in. And this is one of the two.
Yeah, interesting. A lot of big reach disparities in these fights, which is interesting. But we are going to move on. Nice and quick for that one. Not much to say. Probably not a whole lot to say for this one either. But it is Billy Elikana at 8,900 taking on Junior Tafa at 7,300. Line on this fight is Elikana minus 270, Junior Tafa plus 230, and I would say nepotism, but it's weird because Justin Tafa isn't that big of, he's not like a star. So where's the nepotism part come in? Junior Tafa can throw his hands a little bit, but has major susceptible to takedowns. 5 takedowns against Toko Tercios in his last fight and submitted. And Elikana likes that single leg. He likes finding the back, and he could probably sort of strike with him too if he wanted. I love Elikana in this spot. He's another one I think you got to have. Anyone who doesn't go to their wrestling against Tafa doesn't want to win, and I think Elikana wants to win, and so I think he'll go to his wrestling, and I think he will get the finish here. But we will see what the boys think. Joe, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I actually misspoke. There are three fighters on this card that I'm highly confident in.
Yeah.
People have bought homes, cars, put kids through college simply by fading anybody named Tafa. Like, you do not let anybody who you like even a little bit bet on a fighter named Tafa, right? I don't care who he's fighting. He could be fighting like Diego Sanchez reincarnated, and I'll take him, right? Like, Tafas just can't fight. Like, they get on these cards because they're regional cards, right? They have some limited acclaim in kickboxing, whatever, right? Like, I have to go with Billy E here. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and Susie will be very happy. I assume. I didn't know that was his nickname, but quite a nickname there.
Son of Susie, I love it.
Son of Susie. Drake, what about you? How you see it?
Elikana is my DFS lock of the week, so I mean it's a pretty dead giveaway. I'm with Joe. I can't stand either Tafa. I think they're both absolutely terrible. And I do think that the real Elikana stood up last fight. He finally did what I had expected him to do in his previous fight. And I think that if he does that, he should completely destroy Tafa. I mean, all he has to do is literally just walk in, trip him, and he's down on the ground, and then you can submit him. Tafa's got no defense at all. So, yeah. I mean, it should be a walk in the park.
Yeah, I do think Justin at least has a little bit of a composure to his game. Junior Tafa, I think, shows up to these things as a paycheck on cards in the region where he can sort of go in and give the fans a little thrill for some reason. But so, yeah, I like Elikana quite a bit here too. And the fact that he's under 9K does seem like kind of a sweetheart deal there. But we are going to move on to the next fight, which is we just can't stop getting the squashers. But it is Quentin Sal killed at 9,700, taking on Jamie Malarkey at 6,500. Line on this fight is Sal killed minus 950, Malarkey plus 650, and in a land full of 9,000s and high 8,000s that we really want to take, and we'll get to another one later. I do think Salkild's going to win. I don't think it's going to quite be worth 9,700, at least at the expense of fitting other fighters in. Look, Jamie Malarkey's been knocked out. He kind of throws himself headlong into these exchanges. I just don't really buy that that Salkild is a knockout artist all of a sudden. He's sort of a wrestler grappler more so than anything else. He does have knockouts in the UFC. The head kick from against Haqparast was, of course, very impressive, and Malarkey has been less than durable. But 9,700, you kind of playing with fire that it needs to end in a certain way, or he needs to get his takedowns. And Malarkey has been kind of hard to take down. Relatively, I believe that's a 90. I'm sorry, a 78% takedown defense rate. I will get it to us. Yeah, I actually got it, 78%. So, I think Salkild's going to win. I just think at 9,700, be slightly wary, especially wanting to fill in some of your other slots there. But we'll see what the boys think. And I think we're starting with Drake. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I disagree with you. I can see this fight ending in the first 60 seconds. I will say I give Malarkey all the props in the world for taking this fight on short notice, but this is not a guy you want to fight on short notice. So good luck.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that don't look good, but like I said, I'm sort of focusing on the lineup construction, and there are just guys I like a little bit more. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, we're talking 3 weeks notice, and I do really think he can earn salary here. If you look at his last 3 fights in reverse order, we're looking at 106, 117, and 127. And Malarkey's taking this fight on 21 days notice, 22 days notice. This is a bad spot for Malarkey. Honestly, they probably should have just postponed this fight, because this is actually a step down from his last fight, and he should be taking a step up, Salkild. So, again, now he could go into this overconfident and maybe just play with his food a little bit, but he really should, to Drake's point, smoke Malarkey in like the first 60. Like either choke him out or punch him out. So like you got to obviously make him the linchpin of any cash lineup that you have, and I think he's going to be really popular in GPPs just because there's a lot of potential value due to the variance. So I think his ownership is going to be pretty high, even at 9.6K.
Yep, that definitely a guy people are going to want to target just because Malarkey is a glass cannon. But again, you do have to know how to work that price in there among all of the other high-priced talent. But we will move on to another one of those high-priced talents now. It is Towson Teixeira at 9,100, taking on Tai Tuivasa, the return of Tai Tuivasa at 7,100. Line on this fight is Towson Teixeira minus 305, Tai Tuivasa plus 255. Again, Tuivasa making his return to the octagon after not quite 2 years, say about a year and a half away. Certainly was on a big losing streak before he left. 5-fight losing streak there. Bad knockouts. The good fight against Gane, and then the knockout against Pavlovich there, and then subbed by Volkov and Marcin Tybura. So, not much to write home about Tuivasa. Towson Teixeira got knocked out by Derek Lewis, which looks very bad in retrospect. Lewis pulled the old okey doke on him where he pretended to be hurt, and then Towson moved in, and Derek Lewis hit him, and that had the weird ending to it where he got up scaling the cage, and then the fight got called off. But in any event, I expect Teixeira to just sort of rush a guy who hasn't been there for a year and a half, make the fight a little too hectic for him, and then use the immense power, maybe just get him in the clinch and knock him out there. So I'm very big on Towson Teixeira. I believe this fight could also end in under a minute. I just think the first exchange, especially if it's in the clinch. Teixeira could just chin him with a knee or something. So I like Towson Teixeira quite a bit at that price tag of 9,100, but we'll see what the boys think. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I don't like him as much as you do. I think he should win the fight. There's a lot of narrative around this fight. I don't know if you've seen some like photos. I heard the sigh of relief several time zones over that Tuivasa actually made the heavyweight limit. I think he weighed in at 265 and a half. If you see some of his earlier pictures leading up to this fight, I mean, he looks like he ate Justin Taffa. You know, not to mention he is in the weed business. He's made some money. He's into partying. Like, what is his motivation here? Like, obviously, this is an Aussie regional card. You know, I could see this being his last fight in the UFC. If he trained hard for this fight, he could beat, I mean, Teixeira. He's so raw, Teixeira. I mean, you know, goofy kind of like Brazilian. Like, I don't love him at minus 330. There's so many fighters around him that I would have more confidence in, that I would rather have in my lineup. And I may take a shot on Tuivasa in some GPPs simply because of his back glass. Although all the narrative like leading up to this is so far against Tuivasa that you know, I'm going to have more ownership on Teixeira. I just would not be surprised if Teixeira does something foolish and just gets starched.
Well, I mean, the last win is 2022 for Mr. Tai Tuivasa.
But look who he's fought. Read out who who he's fought.
Oh no, I know. You know, I read them out, but you know,
and you also talked about the bad luck of getting lit up by Derek Lewis. You know, which in hindsight is not a really good loss.
Well, yeah, but I mean that fight was weird for a couple different reasons. But yeah, I do. I mean, again, we're gonna have. It's kind of crazy to have a 5-inch reach disadvantage when you're 6'2", or a height disadvantage when you're 6'2". But we are going to have that height and reach discrepancy again. But let's see what Drake thinks. Drake, how do you see his fight?
Tai Tuivasa was never that good, and I think people need to start accepting that.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where he kind of just throws, it happens to land, and because heavyweights are heavyweights, people kind of just fell down.
Yeah.
You can make a case and say that, yeah, he lost to Gane, he lost to Pavlovich, he lost to Volkov, you know, whatever. They're great fighters, but they also didn't really have any issues fighting Tai Tuivasa. I'm going to take a guess and say that Teixeira learned a lot from his last loss, and I do not see that repeating, particularly given the fact that he is much bigger than Tuivasa when it comes to height and reach. And I just see this fight ending horribly for Tuivasa. This is it for him. He's already thought about retirement. He wasn't sure if he was going to come back this fight. Joe talks about narrative all the time. That's narrative enough right there. So this should be Teixeira by a walk in the park.
Remember. So what was that, Joe?
I would hope so.
Okay. I just want to say, remember Tai Tuivasa, the guy who got hurt by Greg Hardy before Greg Hardy rushed in and got knocked out, but he did stagger him first. Just something to remember. But okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on down towards the main card, which is maybe an intriguing fight. I'm gonna say the intriguing fight, but certainly an intriguing fight on the card, which is Mauricio Hufi at 8,200 taking on Rafael Fiziev at 8,000. Line on this fight is Rufi at minus 125, Fiziev at plus 105, and me and Drake, I think are in pretty wide agreement here. Whereas it's just kind of odd that Hufi is the favorite, no matter how small, over a guy who's not only fought the better guys, but I think is shown to have the much deeper MMA game. I think he's going to be every bit as fast as Hufi, if not faster. And let's not forget that he's thrown in a wrestling component. 6 takedowns in the last 2 fights, and we know how much we know how much Hoofy struggled with the wrestling of Benoit Saint-Denis. And let's not forget Fiziev taking down Justin Gaethje, which we learned in the last fight against last week against Paddy Pimblett is not so easy. So I really like Fiziev here. I think he's got all the tools to do this. Hoofy is an explosive striker, and anything can happen. But I think, I got to go Fiziev for the tools and the UFC experience. We will, though, see what the boys think. We'll start with Joe. Joe, how do you see this fight on the main card?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Rufy here. And again, some of this is narrative driven. Some of this is, I saw him at weigh-in, and he just looks huge compared to Fiziev. Rufy is an ex-fighting nerd. He is officially out of the fighting nerds, and you would think that might be enough of a reason to fade him. However, he did this entire camp in Australia with Volkanovski. Like, he was part of Volkanovski's camp. He trained with a very acclaimed grappling coach. I think he's going to show a little bit better because, look, he knows what his weaknesses are. You saw what happened to him against BSD. He was riding a lot of momentum up until that fight. He was actually a -160 favorite against BSD in that fight. Prior to that, he was like, he did what the Revenge of the Nerds did. He won, two fight of the night bonuses or 2 fight bonuses in his prior 3 fights. Now, granted, the competition was not that good. The Ghost of King Green, the aforementioned Jamie Malarkey and James Lonstop. I'm going to have both sides of this fight. I don't necessarily think it's a great fight for DFS, unless there's some wrestling or unless there's an early knockout. But I'm going to go with the size and the narrative here in a very close fight, what I feel will be a very close fight. I'm going to go with the size and the narrative, and I'm going to take Rufy.
All right. Before we move to Drake, just want to say, Robert McElroy, thanks for hanging out and checking it out with us, and good luck on the card. If you have any takes, feel free to shout it out in the chat there. What about you, Drake? How do you see this fight?
Fiziev's my bet of the week. It doesn't make any sense to me. He should, even if you think that Hoofy wins this fight, Fiziev should not be the dog in this fight. It's ridiculous, man.
Well, you know the line flip, right, Drake?
Well, okay, he shouldn't have started as the dog in this fight. And it depends on where he
I mean, Fiziev was the favorite in the line flip.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it just makes no sense. I don't know why so many people are on Hoofy. I get that he's got power. I get that he's a good striker, but you're going against a guy that just that has fought, some of the best guys in the division. He's still top 10, 11, whatever. I think he's 11 right now. And Hoofy's fought nobody like this, like nobody. I don't get this matchmaking. I don't understand how it came to be a thing. I think Fiziev just walks all over him. There's levels to this game, and Hoofy's not there yet.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I tend to side a little more with Drake. Fiziev can be hit a little bit. He can slow down late in fights.
He lost the 3rd round against Green.
Yeah, but that said,
also there's a lot of miles on Fiziev. I understand he's only 32, 33. He's had a lot of Muay Thai fights too. He trains in Thailand. I think he's the striking coach for his camp in Thailand. Look, I think you should have both sides of this in DraftKings. I don't know if it's going to score very well, but I think you should probably have relatively even ownership.
I don't think it scores very well, so that's also a big part of it. I don't like it for DFS.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna, unless there's a finish. I don't think it's going to be a very good DFS fight.
Yeah, no, it's true. On that note, then let's go ahead and move on to the co-main event, which I found it interesting as I was looking through to post the preview on Twitter. The boys here didn't even make it to the poster. Usually they put the co-main on the poster, but the Benoit and Dan Hooker here, poor guys, did not make it on the poster. I think that's the first, at least in a while, the first I've ever seen it. But it is Benoit Saint-Denis at 9,200, taking on Dan Hooker at 7,000. Line on this fight is Saint-Denis at -370, Dan Hooker plus 295. And Saint-Denis is a rightful favorite. Could definitely just steamroll him with the wrestling. Um, this is different than the Gamrot fight. I grant you. Uh, then Saint Denis is much more dangerous, much more heavy-handed, better ground and pound. But we have seen Hooker deal with this wrestling threat like this, and Saint Denis, his game is not very deep. Like if he can't overwhelm, I mean, there's a reason he can just go out there and get destroyed by a fighter like Renato Moicano. It's because if the grappling just doesn't work, he doesn't have another plan, and it could work here, definitely could. But I'm not totally throwing Hooker away here just because he's gonna have the range and he's a tricky little striker. He can throw some knees and he can sort of outlast or last on the ground against some opponents. Again, not the same fight as Gamrot, I understand, but and Saint-Denis is my pick. I want to make that clear. But not completely looking past Dan Hooker, the underdog there at 7K, though that might just be a sort of anti-Saint-Denis bias that I have. We will see. But we're going to start with, I believe, Drake here. Drake, how do you see the co-main?
Yeah, I am going to throw Hooker out, and I'm going to eliminate him from all my lineups. And there's quite a few reasons.
Wow.
The first thing here I want to mention is that you brought up the Renato Moicano fight. BSD didn't even attempt to take down in that fight. And I still honestly think that he was recovering from the infection that he had in the fight against Poirier.
Yeah.
So that said, if you look at Hooker's last 10 fights, you could argue that he also that three win fight streak that you arguably lost to Turner and Gamrot, specifically Gamrot. So I mean, you could have 8 of the last 10 fights in here as losses for Hooker. Hooker is 35. He is not what he used to be. He's had tons and tons of injuries. This is a horrible matchup for him, like absolutely horrible. We all know that he doesn't grapple. He can't stop a takedown to save his life. BSD is probably going to walk right into a few punches, and if those punches don't knock him out, it's done. Hooker's done.
Yeah, the steamroll is a distinct possibility, which is why he needs to be in lineups. But there's something nagging at me, and maybe it's just indigestion. But we shall see. Joe, what about you? How do you see this fight?
So I'm going to pick BSD, but I'm going to cede my narrative time to Drake because I have to do a shout out. So instead of analyzing this fight, I'm going to do the shout out. There's this guy in our Daily Fan MMA Discord. He goes by the handle Codeman6969. This guy has got a really hard life. Like he literally sells light bulbs door to door. Doesn't have a car. He drives a scooter. The way that he raises his money to bet on fights is he goes to like the non-easy pass toll lanes on his scooter and like picks change up off the ground. And then he brings that to the bank to use to convert to dollars to bet on his fights. Lives at home in his parents' basement. The only thing he eats is either his mom's meatloaf or he gets those frozen Swanson TV dinners, that they still make. They sell them like 10 for 10. So this guy's got a pretty rough life. So I just want to shout out Codeman6969, and we can move on to the main event.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you just threw a guy way under the bus. I don't know who you are, Codeman, but I'm sorry about that. But yeah, let's go ahead. And move on to the main event, which is after that interesting little diversion. And the main event is Alexander Volkanovski at 8,500 taking on Diego Lopes at 7,700. Line on the main event here is minus 150 Volkanovski, plus 130 Diego Lopes. And if you only watched the first 9 minutes and 40 seconds of the first fight between these two in, I believe, April, you would have thought that Alexander Volkanovski was back and in prime form, and just Diego Lopes had nothing for him. But shortly after that, Diego Lopes hit him with a flush right hand, knocked him down, and to me, the entire tenor of the fight changed. Now, you wouldn't know it from looking at the stats because Alexander Volkanovski laps him in terms of significant strikes, strikes, all that good stuff. Control time, takedowns, but what you do see in those latter rounds 3, 4, and 5 is Volkanovski just frantically striking and circling out, and sometimes getting caught, hit with hard strikes, and having to sort of run out of the pocket. And I think Diego Lopes is really going to key in on that adjustment he made, doubling up on his jab, tripling up on his jab before throwing the right hand, getting Volkanovski to pull back straight, and then really dropping the hammer on him. I wanted to pick Volkanovski because God forbid I give in to Drake's Diego Lopes love over there, but I just couldn't help myself. I do think that in order for Volkanovski to win this fight, you're banking on him having perfect footwork for 5 rounds, and I just don't think we can do that. Especially at the advanced age now, it's almost a full year for Volkanovski. He's 37. He's going to be 38. He's still going to have the better footwork. He's still going to be quicker. He's still going to be the more technical striker. I just don't think it's going to get it done. I think at some point Diego Lopes catches him, and that's where my pick went. So officially flipping my pick from the first fight to the second, which I don't often do. And it's important to remember too that rematches favor the guy who lost the first one. He game plans around it, where the winner only has to guess what adjustments you're going to make, whereas you know exactly where you went wrong. So I'm taking Lopes. That is my pick for the main event. We're going to start with Joe, as long as he doesn't have any more shout outs to make. Joe, how you see this fight?
I did my shout out. I was encouraged by people in the Discord to do that shout out. So yeah. Wow, this is really weird that all 3 of us are going to be on the same side here. And
yeah,
I love Volkanovski.
Hold on.
I really do.
Hold on.
I really
are you guys feeling okay?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Like the early
I'm feeling
days
remorse, but yeah.
The early days of Twitter when he made his debut, like the MMA community wasn't what it is now on Twitter. And I remember reaching out to someone who occasionally posts. I'm sorry, I can't recall her name. She was female. She somehow was tied into the MMA scene down there. And I'm like, what can you tell me about Volkanovski? And, I think they called him the Hulk. She gave me this like glowing review on Volkanovski, and I loaded up on him. And I've been a huge fan of his ever since. I mean, Ortega got him in as deep a choke as I think I've ever seen. And Volkanovski just put his thumb up, and you could tell that that's when the fight ended. That just sucked the life out of Ortega. That was like his best choke, and Volkanovski just shook it off. So I love him. I really do. I believe I was on him for the last fight. I plan to have both sides of this in DFS, but there's just something that tells me that this is Diego Lopes's fight. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if Volkanovski wins. I mean, he's the favorite. Right. And I won't be upset unless I lose money. But like I plan on having both sides here. It's a 5-round fight. I don't expect that there's going to be a lot of groundwork unless it's initiated by Volkanovski. But yeah, I'm on Lopes here.
Yeah, it's just this dynamic of like Volkanovski winning these long stretches and looking good, and then getting himself caught. And and he didn't really pay for this last time, but I think he might this time. He kept throwing that blind hook, that wide hook coming up in exchanges that just constantly reminded me of Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt, where Garbrandt threw the wide hook and Dillashaw threw the tighter one and landed first. He got away with it most of the time last time, but I really think if Lopes just cleans up a couple of things, it's not going to go well. But we'll see. We'll have Drake take his little victory lap here. Drake, how do you see the main event?
Well, I mean, it's not hard to figure out where I'm at. I am on Lopes again. I was the first time. And what I did not expect the first time is it taking 2.5 rounds for Lopes to kind of feel out Volkanovski. And I should have seen it coming given how professional and exceptional that Volkanovski is and has been. I do want to note that going back, a couple of fights here when Joe was talking about mileage on Fiziev, Volkanovski has probably more mileage than that, given his fights, his rugby, everything that he has done. There is probably more mileage on this guy. And there's talk that Volkanovski might be done after this, and it is definitely a real possibility. I also want to say that this is his 11th fight in a row that has to do with either winning or defending the belt. I thought that was pretty interesting to see.
Yeah.
Given that he's got 3 losses in there, but I really like Lopez. I think it's hard to game plan for a guy like Volkanovski unless you've already fought him. And I think just about any fighter would attest to that. Lopez might not throw as much as Volkanovski, but you could see it all over Volk's face in that fight. I mean, Lopez has power, and it's pretty disgusting how strong he is and how quick those punches get in. I think he does it a little more often this time, and I do actually think that he eventually knocks out Volkanovski.
Yeah, I do think if he wins, it's going to probably be a knockout. I think that's his best path. I think you have to have some Volkanovski, of course. If he wins, it's going to be a high volume decision, and there's going to be some takedowns in there, so it's going to pay off. But I agree. I think Lopez is the play. But otherwise, folks. Oh yes, we have to put this in there because the planted flag, as Joey says. But excuse me, that is the breakdown of the 325 card. And now we give way to hot takes. If you are new to this segment, we find a line that we feel is not sufficiently juiced, and we give it to you at that price. See it come in, and we stick to the big dogs, the hot takes, the big plus plays. Mine is just going to be pretty straight. Nakamura to get the knockout against Alze, and that's plus 270. What about you guys? You got some hot takes for me?
Yeah, so I'll give mine real quick. I mean, I said I'm going to try to do every week, give like a binary fight where you could make a wager where, if either fighter wins and the outcome is correct. I am 0-1. I really thought I had my binary fight wager locked up. Just to remind people, I played Gaethje to win by knockout or Pimlet to win by decision, and I really thought I had the Gaethje knockout all wrapped up. I did obviously have some of Gaethje at plus 200. This week I'm also going to the main event, and there's no one bet, but what I do like is I like playing Volkanovski by unanimous decision, which is plus 200, and Lopez to win by finish, which is, I believe it's plus 185. Plus 185. So if either of those outcomes happen, you're guaranteed a profit, right? You're gonna make $100 profit if Volkanovski wins by decision. If Lopez happens to win by finish, you're gonna make an $85 profit. So that's kind of the way I like it. Obviously, there's risk. I mean, what I don't see is Volkanovski beating Lopez by a finish. I think if anybody gets the finish, it's going to be Lopez. My only concern is now I would have thought that Lopez by knockout would have been the higher odds play. I mean, would have been the more common play, but some people have Lopez by sub as the more common play, which I thought was kind of odd. So I'm just going to do Lopez by finish. Again, if you bet 100 on each side, you win 100 if Volkanovski wins by unanimous decision. You're going to win $85 if Lopez wins by finish. Obviously, the risk is, you know what the risk is. Volkanovski wins by some other form of decision. Volkanovski wins by finish, which I see unlikely, or, Lopez wins by decision. Obviously, all that would kind of void those bets. But I kind of like those as the two more likely outcomes, either a Lopez finish or Volkanovski unanimous decision.
I like it. Covering both sides. Before I get to Drake, I just want to catch up on some comments here. Hidden Gates says all casuals picking Hoofy. I agree.
Thanks for that.
The ball knowers are picking Fiziev for sure. Robert McElroy says, where are we here? Narratives aside, Volk wrestle smashes. We shall see. Definitely could be.
I love that wedding photo, Robert, by the way.
I would love to see Volk try and keep Lopez on the ground. Good luck.
That'll be interesting.
Lopez has never been finished, correct, Drake?
No, he hasn't.
No, he's never been finished, which is why I don't think there's a lot of finish equity on Volkanovski.
No, I think he has been knocked out a couple of times, but he's never been submitted.
Really? I'm gonna have to double check that while Chris finishes speaking.
We could check it right now, as a matter of fact, and the answer is yes. He has been knocked out twice.
Just never been in the UFC. The first one would have been way like when he first started fighting.
Yeah, they were.
That goes back to 2021. Well, wait, that was a grappling match.
2018
was the first time, yeah. 2018, and then in 2014, he got knocked out the first time. So, yeah. I mean, not really relevant in these times. But, Drake, what about you? Well, let's see here your hot takes.
So I got another 4-person that I really like, and it's got great odds. It's plus 1743 for 4 guys that I really like on this card. It's got Mikalev and Con Ofley, Kichiro Nakamura, and Dom Marfan. I mean, it's 4 guys with relatively low odds that I am really confident about. So, I mean, I think this is a great spot for, a 4-piece.
Okay, hang on one second.
Like those too, yeah.
You said you like Mikalev, you like Marfan.
Yep.
Okay, and who else?
Nakamura and Ofley.
Oh, Nakamura. Okay, let's see. Nakamura and Ofley. Wow, yeah, I got plus 1710 on this one.
Yep.
I'm down. I'm gonna put this one in.
Nice.
We'll do it to win 1,000, Drake.
Nice. We are as Joey said, let's get paid, and you might get paid with his hot take here, which is Salkiel Teixeira to win. Wow. If they both hit the 60-second or less mark, it's almost plus 5,000 on the line there. So definitely a good one to maybe.
What did Joey like? He liked 60 seconds for Salkiel.
60 seconds or less for Salkiel and Teixeira together. Yeah. So that's an interesting one for sure. Anybody else in the hot takes? Going once, going twice. Okay, that is it. That is the Fight IQ UFC 325 preview. If you liked what you saw, heard here, definitely give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Helps us out. We will be live tweeting the fights, and we'll be there talking fights all day or all night, rather. And if it's anything like last week, it will go all night. Let's hope that we get a little bit more, flow in the broadcast there. But in any event, we will be there checking it out. Good luck to everybody in the contest, and we will see you. This was a back-to-backer for us, but that's just sort of how it shook out. So we will not be back next week. Instead, we will return. Not return, but we will be on
March 7th.
Normal. Yeah, March 7th. Just the numbered card. So next one in early March there, as Joe said. But thank you guys so much for hanging out, and enjoy your contest, and good luck.
Peace.